After College Athletics podcast, we have Conrad Cornell. He's joining us as a guest. He's a graduate from Mercer University with a bachelor's degree in international finance. Post-college, Conrad played baseball in Great Britain in the European League, and soon after co-founded Press Sports, a platform that's essentially a blend of LinkedIn and Instagram for sports. In 2022, Conrad received the Forbes 30 Under 30 award, and the app now currently has 400,000 registered users, 29 first-round draft picks on the app, and 10,000 plus committed and college athletes. So we're excited to dive into your story. Is that a correct interpretation of the app, Conrad?
Yeah, that's where we are. Appreciate you
Awesome.
guys coming on, Jake and Riley.
Yeah, of course. Excited to dive into your story. It's not an easy road to create an app and to grow it as substantially as you have in a fairly short amount of time. Would love to hear kind of just origin story first of how you got into baseball, playing at Mercer. Just a 2 to 3 minute bio would be awesome.
Yeah, so I'm from Atlanta, and so Mercer's down in Macon, Georgia, but I didn't have any clue that it existed. And so, coming through high school, I mean, even in middle school, my dream was always to play college baseball. I played, football and did wrestling for a little bit, but it was to play college baseball. I was a pretty good player. But was playing over summer on the right teams, and I guess didn't have the right game at the right time in front of the right coach. Certainly wasn't putting my film out there on Twitter or YouTube, and got to the end of senior year, graduated with no offers. And so that was a really frustrating experience for me. We had 7 Division I commits in my class on my team senior year. And I was our number one pitcher and, batted high in the lineup. And so didn't know what was going on. And I had this D1 or bust mentality, which was not the right mentality to have for me, because realistically, I was not going to be a Power 5 conference player, but I thought I was. And kept playing after senior year, wasn't going to give up, and ended up getting a 50% baseball, 50% academic scholarship to Mercer University just 1 month before school started, freshman year. And so that was pretty crazy, because I didn't know if I was even going to go to college. And, fast forward to being at Mercer, 4 great years of baseball. Mercer's a phenomenal baseball program. I didn't know that. I'm surprised. Like, I guess a lot of people don't know that, but we won the SoCon twice. And, the guy that played in front of me in the outfield won the Golden Spikes Award and was Rookie of the Year for the Mariners, Kyle Lewis. And
very cool.
One of my roommates just made his major league debut, Austin Cox, and we had a bunch of great players on our team and great baseball experience, and got to the end of my career. Didn't have any highlights to show for it. I was like, that's weird. Like, why didn't we post this stuff on Instagram along the way? Why, on Twitter, all of us would retweet stuff, but it was among other things we retweeted. And realistically, if you wanted to find that awesome highlight that's such a great memory in your head, it's going to take you several minutes. And by the time you find it on your camera roll or back on your Twitter, the conversation is no longer relevant. And so it's like, how am I going to show my kids one day, that I wasn't always so washed up? And surveyed a bunch of middle schools and high schools, got over 2,000 responses from athletes, and 90% said they felt uncomfortable sharing their highlights on mainstream social media. And so diving into it a little bit more, it was pretty clear that, like, most athletes don't feel like their highlights are good enough to post on Instagram, and I guess now TikTok. Twitter is a little bit more comfortable, but kids for the most part still want to have other people tweet it and they retweet it. And then, the athletes that are good enough are that top 10%. Like, they don't want to flood their Instagram pages with their own highlights. Like, it's mostly photos. And sure, some do. And honestly, the ones that do end up with the biggest following. But, it's just an uncomfortable thing to wrap your head around. There's a lot of anxiety around if people are going to roast you in the comments, roll their eyes behind the screen. If you post one, you're probably not going to post all of your highlights. And so you still kind of have that issue of, like, where's the consolidated place with all of my footage of myself as an athlete, both from all the sports you play, lifting, practice, all that, meaningful content that can help create opportunities for you. And so we wanted to build a place where athletes could build fan base as opposed to a follower base, and a sports focused platform where everyone's there for the same reason, common interest, built on a feature set that makes sense in the context of how athletes and coaches engage with each other in real life. And so that was kind of the genesis idea behind Press.
Very cool.
Awesome.
So kind of going to like early entrepreneurship, you said you didn't know if you're going to go into college. What would you have done right out of high school if you didn't find the opportunity to play baseball?
I have never thought about that, man. I mean,
You're just lucky God put that in your path. Yeah.
that's a God thing for sure. Maybe probably would have like gone and started knocking on JUCO's doors and been like, yo, I'm a good player. Like, let me play on your team.
I think, I mean, you probably saw like there's a passion to it. Like you love the game enough and you were driven enough that you weren't going to let that opportunity not happen or take its course just because you didn't get an offer as the rest of your college teammate or your high school teammates did. So I think that's a good thing about this podcast is we want to highlight some of those moments because as an athlete, like we're all very competitive and we think that's like a driving factor in being successful post college athletics is like you still have that same hunger, but you just focus it towards a different opportunity.
So going into press sports, I think it's a pretty unique idea because especially like how I was as an athlete playing at Canisius, if you could have seen me like day to day and seen that, because again, I didn't play much at Canisius, so I was very much like a weight room guy that I was happy to like be a practice player and make other guys better. And so as far as me getting into college, I would have really benefited from a platform like Press where I could post my workouts, post my lifting, kind of almost like create this personality that a college coach could see that they wouldn't be able to see during an actual game. Or let's say they somehow show up to the field at some tournament in Las Vegas and I just didn't have a good day and that was my only opportunity. If I could send them a profile that I made on Press Sports and it would show me as an athlete, as a personality, this is the value I bring to the community of our team. I think that's pretty valuable. So is that kind of like what your goal is with Press, or what does it look like going forward with Press?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is you want, one of the stories I always told is like over summer is when all the recruiting happens in baseball. And I was better fit to be a pitcher in college, but my summer team happened to have a ton of pitchers on the team. And so I was going to play in the outfield, and that's fine. I was a pretty good player in the field, but I never hit well with a wood bat. And you don't use wood bats in college or in high school ball. And so there would be coaches that told my college coach, like, man, that Conrad kid, like he hustles his ass off on and off the field, like makes good plays in the outfield. Like we just need to see him, like hit a nuke or something. And it's like, man, why couldn't they just pull up my Press Sports profile and see all my high school highlights and see the fact that I'm busting my ass in the weight room and be like, okay, well, like I just didn't come to the right game. And so, yeah, that's kind of like what you're talking about is like that profile with all your measurables, all the footage of you, doing your thing on the field. It shows what you're capable of if coaches don't get the right event.
How did it look building Press right away? Like, what was the founding story? How did you get funding for it? What did that look like?
So it was tough. Like it was like senior year and we, had the idea, and the first thought was, my co-founder and I were like, okay, we need to get this thing built. So we went to a dev shop, and we had an original angel investor who was, he had, agreed to help us get it going in the dev shop. And we went to a dev shop based out of India and didn't really know any better. And it's like $80,000 later, we had an MVP launching about the day after graduation, senior year. And so that's an expensive MVP, which is a minimum viable product for those who aren't familiar. And it's like your first version of the app. And so we started getting people on. We built an Instagram page and a Twitter page and started just reaching out to athletes one by one. One of the things that, I talk about a lot is the fact that, of our early adopters, there was a ton of athletes who are ended up moving on to become huge names. And I mean, there's 29 first round draft picks, and we were sending out Instagram voicemails to these athletes just saying, hey, this is what we're building. We'd love to get you on there and get your feedback and send you some merch. And we developed relationships with 50% of the top 500 ranked athletes across football, baseball, and basketball. I think 2019, that was a stat. We had 50% of all the top players in each high school class for those sports. And it was like hand-to-hand combat Instagram voicemails. It was like our strategy there.
What was the motivation behind the voicemails instead of just a plain text message?
Just different. It's like first
Okay.
of all, you think like nobody wants to see a paragraph, and so you could get a paragraph into just a voicemail, and they're like, "Whoa, this person took the time to send me like a message. That's pretty cool."
That's very interesting. I haven't really heard that. Like, yeah, for example, like if I would have got that in my DMs, I would have been like, dang, I never receive a voicemail from someone. So you take a listen.
Yeah, you listen to it, and then you're like, "That sounds pretty cool." Like, I'll post my highlights on Yell's app. Why not?
Was that a thought that you guys had or someone mentioned? Because it's a pretty strong attention getter. If you see like a press play in your DMs, essentially, you're intrigued that you're definitely going to click play for the most part. I don't know of many people that wouldn't. So that's awesome. It's a very unique strategy.
Yeah, and it worked for us because then what we would do is they would get on the app and post their highlights, and then we would go and take these elite athletes' highlights and share them on Instagram and Twitter and eventually TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube, and they would reshare them, and that was our growth loop. It was kind of like a manufactured content growth loop.
Yeah, it's a good flywheel. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it wasn't doing itself. It was very manual. It wasn't like these kids were going to post their highlights on press and then take the highlights from press and share them on Instagram. It's like we had to go in there, get them and post them on Instagram.
Right. So now since you have a substantial amount of athletes on the platform and you're starting to grow, you're starting to get more users on the platform, what do some of the next partnerships look like in that development, whether that be with NIL, consulting parties, advisors now, since that's in effect, and you have athletes who can sponsor or be sponsored and receive compensation for their name, image, and likeness. How has that played into press sports, and what are some of the obstacles that you've encountered with those partnerships?
So, from an NIL standpoint, I think NIL is great for big brands because they are going to have the money to drop on the top athletes who actually have real influence. But the problem for us, at least, is that like when we were getting going, like we had a bunch of college athletes that would, want to engage with the brand for free. And now everyone wants to get paid for everything. And it's like, we don't have that much money. I mean, we're not like a well-funded startup. And so we can't really afford to do deals with people. And so as it turns out, like just because you're an athlete, like doesn't necessarily mean that you have influence, which is tough to like gauge the difference between somebody that has 5,000 followers that people are going to listen to and like download an app when they say to, and someone who's like just for some reason has 5,000 followers.
Right.
And so like we've noticed that across influencers, it's just like some of them hit and some of them don't, and it's really tough to distinguish the difference. And so we've stayed away from doing paid promotions. We're thinking about doing some more creative stuff here soon, particularly around the transfer portal. I think we're going to run a test and see if any kids coming out of like lacrosse season or baseball season or softball season want to make a post out that they're joining the transfer portal and that they're only accepting DMs through press from coaches.
I think that would be awesome if you could get an athlete to commit to that. It would allow you guys to have a straight gateway from the college coaches as well into that platform, and then you have more users for recruiting purposes.
Yeah, because coaches are the real tough ones to get to adopt it. I mean, there's about 1,500 college coaches on there that love it, but they use Twitter and they know Twitter and they're slow to adopt new things. And the ones that are on it understand that, hey, it's pretty awesome to be able to filter by class and position and just have a content feed of uncommitted athletes in the position I'm looking for in my region.
Right.
The ones who
Absolutely.
use Twitter are still being like, whoa, it's pretty cool that kids are tweeting highlights.
Mhm.
Well, it's pretty cool. Because I was curious, so I downloaded the app. Because I'm a high school lacrosse coach. I coach club. Um, and so as you like are onboarding the app, it asks you what kind of sports you like to watch first, which I thought was interesting because it's not just like, I played football in high school, I played lacrosse in high school, but what do you actually want to see? So as a college coach, like you're talking, if you could filter out the kind of profile of the athlete that you want, and just get a feed of literally these are the athletes that are potentially uh in my sphere of who I should recruit. That's pretty powerful. That's a powerful tool.
Oh, that's a great idea, man. I mean,
Because I
wow.
think it's just cool. I think it's cool if you're um I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
In the Press Sports app has a unique opportunity. If a student athlete, let's say in high school, joins the platform, it allows them to post all of their hard work, all of their highlights into one location, and it essentially is a profile. And if it's as I mean, the Press Sports app I downloaded as well, and the user interface is really simple to use and attractive. And for that reason, it makes it very simple for these kids to be seen across a broader audience. Then I have a very interesting and unique story into how I got recruited, and it was through just kind of a similar story to yours. Like I wasn't gonna accept no as an answer. Our school wasn't historically known for colleges coming to recruit, but I knew that was a thing I wanted to do is play college lacrosse. So I just sent out emails to college coaches with my YouTube link attached, just to as many college coaches as I could, and that was kind of how I got the opportunity. But if I had this app when I was in high school, it would have saved me a lot of time and allowed me to be scanned or viewed by a lot more opportunities.
Yeah, did you get a chance to check out the college coach directory in the app?
I haven't looked that far into it yet, but would love to hear about it.
Oh, it's pretty neat. Like, I think the big thing for me was not knowing what the options were. Like, I didn't know what the D2 and D3 JUCO programs were around the Southeast. So in Press Sports now, you can filter Division I through NAIA, select regions or states, and pick your sport. We cover 26 sports now, and it'll just pull the list of programs. You can find out everything you need to know, like in-state, out-of-state tuition, ACT scores to get in, GPAs, like majors offered by the school, link to the recruiting questionnaire, and then all the coaches. And you can either email them directly from the app or find them on Twitter.
Awesome. No, I think that's a great, unique aspect to the platform as well.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to ask you, so you started the app, you've gained quite a significant amount of users, and then you were nominated to Forbes 30 under 30 and received that award in 2022. Would love to hear that story. I think it's a huge accomplishment and a good promotion as well for yourselves and the company.
Yeah, that was cool. That felt good for sure. What happened was, so we were growing in 2021, and we raised our seed round from a fund called General Catalyst, which is like blue chip big VC fund. After we raised that fund, like our investor there, basically made an intro to the guy from Forbes, and I think put us on a list. I don't really know how it worked, but we got selected. Like, kind of forgot that we even talked to the Forbes folks about doing an article, and one day it just showed up in our inbox that you're on the Forbes under 30 list. And I don't buy too much into it. I don't think it really does. It didn't do anything for the business, that's for sure. Didn't move our metrics. It didn't help. But what it did do, I guess, for me, really, like for us personally, was just people all of a sudden just started thinking that Press Sports was legit, because for the first 2 years, people were like, are these guys wasting their time? Like, what's going on at Press? Like, our friends and like our parents' friends. And then all of a sudden, everyone was like, oh, Press Sports is the real deal. So that was like what was pretty cool about it for me.
No, I think that's awesome. I think there's one thing, and feel free to chime in, that is unique. Even if it is such a platform like Forbes or Wall Street Journal or New York Times or something like that you get promoted by, whether or not the actual factor of becoming a name in the light of media has a large influence on like how it should be portrayed. That doesn't matter. What matters is it's essentially free marketing for yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like and it carries weight to some individuals as well. Like you said, like it made you guys in the eyes of other individuals seem like a legit app, a legit company that has an opportunity to make a market that isn't existent.
Yeah. And so that's what it was great for. And you could kind of feel it right away. I mean, I've never gotten so many texts in a day,
That's
which
awesome.
That's cool.
you know, so I never had a big commitment coming out of high school. It was kind of like, oh, I'm going to Mercer last minute. And this was like kind of the closest thing I've had to that.
No, that's awesome.
What would be something that you think a young professional that just graduated college athletics and they're trying to pursue their dream, what are some like little wins that they can get along the way to keep that momentum going and to kind of feel that validation, if you want to call it that?
So the piece of advice I'd have there for coming out of college is and trying to kind of have confidence to pursue whatever you're most passionate about is one, if you're passionate about something and you're really interested in it and you're thinking about it all the time, find a way to sink your teeth into it. Maybe you don't go full time into it right out of school, but keep busting your ass on the weekend, keep staying up late to continue to invest time into it. And if you continue to enjoy it and that hunger inside of you continues to grow stronger, the thing that I wish that we did coming right out of college was invest a lot of time in finding the best possible mentor in whatever you're passionate about and whatever your area of interest is, because someone who's done exactly what you're kind of envisioning for yourself, because they can be that source of validation. Your parents, your friends might not understand it at all. Like, let's say you see yourself as becoming the best sculptor in the history of the world. Like, you're like, holy shit, I can really make some cool stuff with clay. Like, I love to sculpt. Your parents might be like, that is so dumb. Like, quit wasting your time. But if all of a sudden you can talk to somebody who's making a living in ceramics and does a really good job, and is probably happier than just as you can be because you're doing what you're super passionate about every day, go talk to them and they can let them be your source of validation, somebody who's had success in what you're trying to do. Because the chances are the majority of people who haven't had success in what you're trying to do and what you're passionate about are going to give you negative signals and take away from your confidence. So I think that's probably the answer to my question, because we made all these missteps, like getting the app built by an outsourced development. If the first thing we did was find an advisor who'd built a vertical social network, like gone and talked to the Strava guys or gone and talked to the Supergrade, the beauty makeup company, or the Fish Brain, the fishing guy, the fishing social network, or CookPad for cooking, is like, man, if we could have made friends with the founders of those companies, they probably would have said, hey, stop what you're doing and learn to code. You need to know to code. If you're starting a tech company, you have to be able to build your first product. And that would have saved us years. Just instead of trying to get it launched as quick as possible, invest a year learning to code and never have to rebuild it and save millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think another aspect to that is when you make a connection in an industry that you want to go into, those people also know people who do the same thing, right? So, for example, like if you want to become a sculptor, you make one connection with a really astounded sculptor. I guarantee that sculptor knows many other people in the industry that they can point you to, and you can grow your network exponentially, and in turn, exponentially grow your knowledge through all those people.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think that's like, and I don't think you go directly to the top first. Like, you've got to put your time in. You've got to invest in building the skills necessary and kind of getting started, or else they'll be like, this person wastes my time. Like, you got to show that you're passionate about it.
No, absolutely. One thing I want to ask you, you mentioned it might have been more helpful to learn code and build the platform yourselves, especially through some of the hiccups and trials that you guys faced throughout the last couple of years. Do you think there's an aspect that allowed you guys to grow to where you are because of speed as well? So that's through outsourcing. I know sometimes we probably all do this in our own heads, like toy with the idea, is this worth my time or should I outsource this? And also like the value of money in that aspect. And can I just build it myself? What are some of your thoughts there on if the speed was still worth the outsource of money and time there?
I don't think the speed was worth it because I think ultimately it slowed us down. I think we would have gone faster if we had learned to code, because nobody cares as much as you do. And when you need to stay up all night and all weekend to ship a new feature, the only people that are going to do it are the co-founders. Sometimes, like, that's just that's the truth. And so I'm not saying don't build a team. Like, I'm not saying that I should have been our engineering team, but I'm saying in the early days, had we been able to build the MVP, like, I don't think I would still be coding. We've got an incredible CTO. We've got an incredible engineering team. They're way better than I would be at coding, but being able to get us off the ground and get things going and be able to come in and fix bugs and build features when just to increase velocity at any given point is an ability that I think tech founders should have. I think I think if regardless of what company you're starting, the founding team should be able to build the product, should have the ability to build the product and iterate on it.
Agreed. I think there's an aspect you have to have that knowledge because it becomes hard or difficult to talk about it otherwise. And if you don't have some sort of inclination as kind of the head management or even the co-founder of the company have an inclination of how to fix an issue within, it might be difficult to continue those conversations when you have an engineer, especially because, like you said, at the end of the day, no one's going to care more than you do.
And they shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not saying, maybe I shouldn't say they shouldn't, but you can't expect them to.
Right. Right.
They can be just as passionate about the mission of the company. And I hope that I can, inspire that, because we have an awesome mission. But it's like, I don't know. It's just how you can't expect other people to care as much as you.
So if you had to start over fresh, right out of college with your experience now, would you still go down the path that you did, or what path would you walk down?
I think that, I wouldn't change the experience that I have for anything in the world. It's been a roller coaster. It's been I sometimes describe it as the greatest nightmare of all time. But it's amazing nonetheless. And it can be stressful. You feel on top of the world, and in the same day you feel like you're getting curb stomped by like Goliath. And so I wouldn't trade the experience for the world. And I think we've got a chance to build something just like this, going to help so many athletes. But I think going back is the only thing I would have done different is learn to code and get a really good advisor. We had really good advisors, but we didn't have an advisor that had built exactly what we're trying to build.
How would you, for someone who's trying to find that mentor, that advisor, what are some ways that they could find that? Is it just kind of what you said, sinking their teeth into the industry and just trying to, with the power of social media, trying to find those people who are doing what you want to do?
Yeah, I think, saying that you're super interested is in getting into this is doesn't carry a lot of weight when you're emailing somebody that's going to be a really good person to talk to. And, we see it with people applying to press boards. Like, I want to get into working in social media, and they don't have a portfolio. And it's kind of like, okay, well, like, there's no chance I'm responding to this person. I can't see any prior work. They probably just can't find any job. And so, I think like having like like if you're trying to be a coder, you should have a GitLab repository where they could be like, okay, yeah, they've done a bunch of projects. Or like if you're trying to get into being a graphic designer, you should have a portfolio. If you're, I guess, trying to get into banking, and I mean, Rylan, you would know more than me, but I would imagine that they would want to see that you've done internships in banking.
Yeah, my historical of free internships lapsed me finally to senior year. But like you said, like I learned it the hard way. I was very I felt I'll say I felt very ambitious. I wanted to be in finance. It was what was most interesting to me. I thought there was a great opportunity post college there. So I connected with Jake's dad, actually, funny enough, and got into real estate and finance. And then realized, okay, I have to do some unpaid internships to get my feet wet and get some basic understanding and knowledge before I can actually apply for real internships and show that I have some experience or an inclination to be a performer at any firm. But yeah, I mean, similar to you, this is a not an easy thing to start from ground zero. And your road is definitely harder traveled than Jake and I's. Um, but for the future's sake, where do you see Press Sports going, or what's the long-term goal?
So the long-term vision for Press Sports is to become the global sports social network. Global sports exposure platform is kind of what we're more gravitating towards too, because we're getting ready to really start focusing on the web experience, which is, for so long we were the sports social media app, and now we're going to be the sports exposure platform. I think is probably what we're moving towards. But it's to really be that LinkedIn for the sports community, where you can go find out everything about a player, all the teams they've ever played on, all their best highlights from throughout their career and all the different sports they played, including training and weightlifting, and connect with them, get in touch with them. Just like it's a lot easier to go to find all the software engineers at Oracle on LinkedIn than on Instagram.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's no chance in hell you're finding a software engineer from Oracle through an Instagram search, but you can find everyone in 5 seconds on LinkedIn. And so that's what we're building for sports, is a contextually relevant sports social network. And it's a really complicated thing to build, because you're trying to build for a bunch of different people at the same time. How can we bring value to coaches? How can we bring value to middle school athletes? Female middle school athletes are a lot different than college male athletes. And so you're building for everyone at the same time, keeping parents in mind and the safety of the users, and, trying to build network effects in a really good community. There's a lot of balls in the air at any given time.
Do you have any worries about censorship or anything like what are your thoughts about that? Because I know that's pretty much a hot topic with Congress and the tech companies.
We've been fortunate. Press Sports is a really positive, uplifting community. The athletes support each other. All you have to do is download the app and scroll through some of the comments on the post. It's people boosting each other up, not tearing each other down. But with that being said, I think as you continue to scale, more problems will arise. It's not like we haven't had any problems, but you could count them on one hand. Mm-hmm. And so we're actually in the process. I think there's a meeting next week scheduled to start looking into moderation tools. And, we have a policy in place, but really enforcing it and automatically banning people who use certain combinations of words in either comments, usernames, etc. Or captions on posts. Just like there's a zero tolerance policy on Press Sports. We just don't care. Like if you're going to be a jerk, we're going to kick you off the app.
Mm-hmm. I want to highlight something there, because some people might argue that it is a block against a freedom of speech, or looking at the highest level. And even if it's something as simple as a user highlighting something that isn't necessarily for the platform, or mentioning something that may or may not be derogatory or confidential. But the aspect that I think you guys are gearing towards, and feel free to chime in as well, is to create an opportunity for everyone to have the same opportunity. And when you have individuals or users creating a fake account to essentially push down another athlete to increase their competitive advantage, it's not a positive thing for any of the athletes or the platform.
Yeah, and I don't think it's hit on free speech. I certainly believe in free speech, but we're a sports platform, so
Right.
you're not allowed to post politics,
Mm.
and we're a positive community, so you can't be a total jerk and use profanity. Um, it's not like if you wanted to give constructive criticism, that's totally cool, but just don't be a jerk.
Right.
Don't say it in a way where you wouldn't talk to your grandparents, and we're building a platform that we want parents to be okay with their middle schoolers using, and so that's a position that we have to hold strong to.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, I think it's great and I think it's strong.
Cool. Well, I think kind of wrapping up before we grab the hypothetical questions, is there any general advice you'd give young people trying to find their way right out of college athletics?
Yeah, just sink your teeth into stuff. Like especially if you don't know what you want to do. I certainly didn't know that. I was, Ryan, I was like you. I was going to meet with trying to get into banking, and coming out of Mercer, that was a little tough. Like, I think Geico was like the main company that recruited out of Mercer, and so I was not having success. Had this thought for an idea, and just had always been pretty entrepreneurial, so I went after it. So if that's something that's out of your comfort zone, then find a way to continue investing times in the things that interest you the most. And if you can't do them full time out of college, don't stop doing it because you have a different full-time job.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yeah, I love that.
that's in part why Jake and I continue to find ancillary activities. I wouldn't, we still enjoy our jobs and our careers so far, but we think there's a greater opportunity and greater calling for us afterwards or even outside of it. Like, we have the motivation and drive, just like yourself, to continue through developing either a business or an opportunity or a network or a community that reaches beyond us, like that'll last forever, kind of building a legacy, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's important. And so you just got to keep pounding. And that's what sports are so great for. You learn
Right.
how to fail. Like, you learn how to be a part of a team, and you learn how to lose and not get discouraged by it, and kind of keep your head up and just get ready for the next game.
I saw this quote on Instagram a little bit ago, and it kind of goes to what you were just saying. It says, "I don't know about you, but I'll be busy failing today on purpose. Thank you for being fearful. Thank you for being inconsistent. Thank you for overthinking every little thing. You make my life 10 times easier for me. Your inconsistency at failing causes you to consistently fail." And I thought that was pretty cool about what you're saying about, working on the weekends. I'm going to continue to fail, just like in sports. Like, if you don't bench 225 and you fail at it, you're not just going to give up. You're going to continue to get under the bar and just do it over and over and over again until you get there.
If something doesn't exist, it's because it's hard to build and hard to do. And so you just got to accept that you're going to fail a ton of times and make a bunch of mistakes, and let yourself be okay with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh yeah, going into the hypotheticals, if you could have dinner with any person, alive or dead, and it can't be a family member, who would it be and why?
Probably Rob Gronkowski.
I love that answer.
He's a legend, and I think we'd have an awesome time after dinner. And so, Rob, if you somehow hear this, let's feast.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Where would you guys eat?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think maybe an all you can eat seafood buffet.
All right, that's
There you
solid.
Yeah.
All right, got another hypothetical. I guess it's more of a look back on your life when you were younger, say 10 years old or so. What did you want to be? When you're that age, you get asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? What did you want to be at that time? And do you think I would imagine so. Your 10-year-old self is definitely going to be proud of where you're at now.
Yeah, I think so. To be honest, I have a pretty terrible memory. I can't remember what I wanted to be when I was growing up. I think I just was thinking about baseball. But I mean, obviously, I probably had the dream to be an MLB player. But I think this is, I think anybody that's relentlessly pursuing something they're passionate about is somebody that I have like a ton of respect for. Anyone that like is engaged with their work, not watching the clock. Like that's what I love about our job. Is like I don't think anybody in press sports ever is like looking at the clock like I wonder if I can leave.
Hmm.
That's just not a thing. I wish there was another day in the week. And so I think that should be like your goal, is to just be like, am I doing something that I'm just perpetually engaged by, that I wake up in the morning and are like punching air in the elevator, pumped up to the day? Like that should be what your work and what you should have. You should have something like that in your life that you're looking forward to. And so I think I would be proud of myself, because that's what we still have at Press Sports after 5 years, and what we're going to continue to have for several more, and see where it goes. I mean, I think ultimately we do want to, this business to be acquired, and we have the relationships in place to make that happen, but we've got more growth to experience before then. And so we're just going to keep chipping away.
Yeah. Super cool story. Thanks for coming on, Conrad. I think you provide a lot of inspiration to a lot of young professionals out there. Your story is pretty cool, and I'm excited for people to hear it. What's a good way for people to find you? Instagram, LinkedIn, download the Press Sports app?
Yeah. I mean, you can DM me on at LinkedIn or Instagram. It's just Conrad Cornell. I get back to pretty much everyone. Not famous, so not getting many, and so, yeah, like if you want to connect and have something, if you're interested in, I can set up some time to talk.
Absolutely. We're really excited to watch your app grow and watch your company grow, and we'll stay in touch, of course.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks so much for having me on, guys. Great job with this podcast. I know it's a lot of work on top of the jobs y'all have.
Yeah, no, we appreciate your time. And if there's anything we can do to be helpful, let us know. I know there's some venture conferences and things of that nature, even like funding opportunities for small businesses that Lazard does. So if that would be of any interest, and I also have a few contacts within VC. If you guys are looking to raise another round, let me know. I'd be more than happy to introduce you to right names.
Yeah, Rylan, let's touch base on that. We're in the process of raising right now.
Okay,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll connect offline.
Okay, great, guys. Thanks so much, y'all. Have a great rest of the weekend. Let's go.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, you as well.